And then we had 6, and I can remember as a young man sitting in that theater on King Street in Boone, North Carolina in 1996, watching Wes Craven scream, thinking the entire time that we were going to be in for a really long love affair with this story, these characters, this killer. And here we are. We're getting a 6th film in the franchise, and I have to admit I was excited for it, but I was a little leery because Neve Campbell's not attached to it. And I don't really understand how you do that when the character's still alive and well. I realized it was a pay discrepancy or some issue over money, which, come on guys, you gotta pay that woman. But we did get some badass new characters to sort of wrap ourselves up in with 2022's Scream, taking us back to Woodsboro. I mean, I thought they really rebounded well from Scream 4, and on top of that, when I found out that Ghostface and these characters were going to be pulling a Home Alone 2 and heading to New York, forget about it. I'm sure I butchered that. But let's see if Scream 6 maintains an upward trajectory with the core 4. Before I dive too deep into the video, I have to ask you, please consider liking this, because what it does when you do that is it pushes it out in front of more people, and I get an opportunity to talk to more perfect strangers about perfect horror films or not so perfect horror films. And I kind of dig that as a 45-year-old guy with 3 rabid children and a day job. It's sometimes nice to get that little bit of escapism and dive back into your roots as a child, and that's what we do here. We really love the 80s, and we really love scary stuff, and we try to talk about as much of both as we can. So if you'd be so kind, like the video, think about subscribing to the channel, and let's dive into this movie, because Scream 6 gives us what I think is the best cold open of all the movies up until this point. You know, we don't get a ringing phone in a very nice suburban house with a pretty young girl there alone answering it. We get a ringing phone in a bustling restaurant in the middle of New York. Seated at the bar of this place, though, is Scream Queen herself, Samara Weaving, who she's very nervous about a blind date that she's on. But then her cell phone rings, and her prospective suitor for the evening is calling because he's lost trying to get to the restaurant. So in the ensuing conversation with her trying to help him get to where she is, we find out that Laura, which is Miss Weaving's character name, she's an associate film producer with an emphasis on 20th century slashers. As if you could not love this woman anymore. That's the coolest thing I've ever heard of. Now, this associate professor is pretty as a penny, but she does not have a dime's worth of sense, because she is coaxed out of this restaurant into the street to help her blind date find his way there. Then she gets talked into an alley on a busy New York street and gets ghost-faced promptly. Brutally, too. It was a really an aggressive killing. Rest in peace, Laura. I love you. But then check this shit out. Okay, the killer pulls his mask off right after he kills this girl. Unprecedented, right? And not only that, but it's Flash from Spider-Man. And I knew that little bastard was no good. I knew it in that movie, and we see it here. On the way home, even, like, he undresses from his Ghostface garb, basically in the middle of everything. You know, there's people all around, and it's New York, so I don't think people pay any attention to anything that isn't right in front of them. But he changes out of his Ghostface garb, walks down the streets of New York, smile on his face, bumps into Tara, because apparently he knows Tara or goes to school with Tara, and tries to be social with her, invites her to a party, telling her not to forget to bring Sam along. So the plot thickens. Can we spend a minute and talk about the significance of this action, though? Because we usually have to wait a couple of hours before we find out who's doing the hacking and the slashing in these films. And this dude just shows us the goods immediately. Almost like he's my ginger sister-in-law down in Florida State. I mean, along with us learning that his name is Jason, we also learn his apartment's full of Ghostface lore when he gets back. There's outfits in the closet. There's masks in the closet. There's posters everywhere. His roommate is apparently his accomplice, and we find that out right away. You know, the ultimate plan that they have is to kill a bunch of folks before ultimately killing Samantha and Tara, the Carpenter sisters, to finish Richie's movie. They're big Richie fans. Richie, of course, being the amazing Jack Quaid, who got aced in the last film. Then Jason's phone rings and it's Ghostface calling him. Now he thinks it's his roommate doing the Ghostface voice because, again, they both plan on being Ghostface and killing a whole bunch of folks. But he winds up having to play a game of hot and cold around their apartment to try to find him, ultimately being led to the fridge, which is where his roommate's body has been cut up, folded up, and stuffed in the refrigerator before what looks like a Ghostface from a Rob Zombie film just rushes him and stabs him what had to be 217 times. I mean, the mask is weathered and cracked and it looks really, really good. Doesn't kill him right away though, this attack, because he looks up at this new Ghostface, this alpha Ghostface, because the Ghostface that we got killing Samara Weaving was good, but this dude right here, he looks pissed. If you can look pissed with a mask on your face, he certainly presents the action, the aggression, and when he looks up at this killer and says, "What about Richie's movie?" Ghostface violently and emphatically says, "Who gives a f*** about movies?" before punctuating the line with what would be the killing blow.
I have to finish the movie. Who gives a f*** about movies?
Boom. Title card. Cold opens don't usually command this much of my time, but man, I really thought this was good. And when you're coming off of Scream 5 into this, you gotta be amped. As a movie watcher, as a fan of the genre and the franchise and the lineage and all of that, I was really, really excited from this point on. And I knew we were gonna lose Samara Weaving once we saw her there because she's in that Drew Barrymore role. You know, she's a great actress, she's well known, beautiful, but you know, that's the cold open. You're gonna lose people in the cold open. This here though, I mean, it's just a wonderful way to start the movie. And on top of all that, and if I didn't mention it prior to, and I don't think that I did, Jason in his apartment is watching Friday the 13th Part 8, Jason Takes Manhattan. Super appropriate. I don't know who would ever willingly watch that piece of shit, but he had it on the TV playing in the background, and considering we're in New York, I get it. We roll right into Sam being on a shrink's couch, and the shrink is getting pissed because Sam's not really opening up to him. You know, she's guarded. She's not telling him the things he needs to hear. And then she says, okay, and she opens the floodgates on this guy. She talks about her serial killer father who's deceased, who she sometimes has conversations with. She talks about how her ex-boyfriend became a serial killer. And this internet rumor that was started that she did all the killing back in Woodsboro and somehow framed Richie and Amber. Like anything you see on the internet, you know, some people are too happy to not only believe bullshit, but they spread that bullshit around. And this is just too much for the shrink. And the shrink essentially kicks her out of the office. So be careful what you wish for. I don't care how many PhDs you have. Sometimes you're going to get it and you won't be ready for it. Now, what I loved about this right away, because I don't read about movies before I go into them. I like being as surprised as I can. I don't want to know the plot until I'm sitting down watching the plot unfold. I love that our core group of characters have all moved to New York together. I mean, we knew Sam was sticking by Tara no matter what. She said it in the last film, and I get it. But the Chad and Mindy going with them, I thought was fantastic because Chad and Mindy are great, and they're great here too. Frat party shows us Tara is getting tipsy before she's being coaxed upstairs by some Neanderthal. Chad is talking up his roomie Ethan, this new guy, instant suspect. He's talking him up so he can go rap at some ladies, and then Mindy is just observing this all happening on a couch with her brand new girlfriend Annika. And we like Annika immediately because Annika's the one that goes to get Chad to tell him, hey, you need to stop Tara from going upstairs to get date raped by this guy. Chad does it, goes all aggro on him, and Chad is that guy. You know, he is ready to just beat this dude's ass. But of course Sam shows up, tases the guy in the nuts, and the rest, as they say on that night, is history because they all leave, and Tara's mad at Sam. You know, Tara likes having Sam close, but at some point Tara's got to spread those wings and live a little bit. And no, she didn't really like that guy she was going upstairs with, but she should be allowed to make the mistakes of a young person without somebody leering and domineering. I get it. I understand what she's saying. I also get Sam's point of view. But they're on the way home, and then they're just accosted by some people with a camera because people know Sam. You know, they know her as that internet girl from Woodsboro, and everybody's always trying to get a viral moment off of her. Sam gets a diet cola thrown on her by these assholes on the street, and then they all head back to the apartment where I believe Sam, Tara, Mindy, and then Quinn all live together. Now, Quinn is this obviously a new character, feisty redhead, who describes her serial banging as just her being sex positive, which I really kind of dig that. But Quinn winds up that night cock blocking Tara and Chad, who very much have eyes for each other at that point, and I cannot tell you how much I love that for them. I love both of these characters, so it only makes sense, especially with that shared trauma they have. We don't have Dewey and Gail anymore. So let's throw a little bit more romance into our slasher film, shall we? And then a news story breaks on the television out in the living room that changes everything for our group. No sooner had this reporter mentioned that a Ghostface mask was found at an apartment with a double murder involved, and Sam was urging Tara to pack her bags then and there. Then the phone rang, and all of our survivors from last film almost jumped out of their skin. I mean, the caller was Quinn's dad, though, who is played by Dermot Mulroney. I always butcher that guy's name. But in this film, we know him as Detective Bailey. Turns out, right next to Ghostface Jason's dead corpse was Sam's ID. So Detective Bailey needs Sam to come down to the station to answer a few questions. Now, when you couple that with that internet rumor that somebody started about Sam being responsible for what happened in Woodsboro the year prior, that's pretty damning for Samantha Carpenter. Now, the next scene is one of the most fun in the entire movie, almost in the entire series, really, if you want to break it down for what it means, because Tara tags along with Sam on the way to the cop shop, and as they head that way, Sam's phone rings, and the caller ID says Richie Kirsch with his smiling face beaming back up at her from her phone. So she says, oh my God, I never deleted his contact. Answers the phone, pointed back and forth between Ghostface on the other end and a really strong, really irritated, don't mess with type of chick in Samantha Carpenter, before, of course, the killer pops out, busy street, grabs hold of Tara. Now they get away. They run down the street, and you would think Ghostface being stealth, you know, he's going to disappear and he's going to pop back up when the moment's right. That's not what happens, because Sam and Tara rush into a bodega to look for help, and then Ghostface just storms right in after them. Busy store. Ghostface comes in, kills a couple of patrons before disarming the guy behind the counter, taking his shotgun and blowing his head off. Wow. Because listen, obviously Ghostface killers, once they're unmasked, they shoot people. They've done it a million times. I don't know if I've ever seen a time where Ghostface, when he's got his mask on, is using a firearm on somebody. And not just a firearm, but a pump shotgun. It was pretty gnarly scene. And especially when you couple that with that weathered, just Rob Zombie type mask that Ghostface is wearing in this movie, it was a really cool visual. So now that he's got the shotgun, he's blowing the doors off of the coolers, spraying glass everywhere, trying to find Sam and Tara. They narrowly escape, and they wind up getting taken into police custody and ushered down to the station so they can talk to the detective. Now down at the station, we wind up meeting Kirby. Like, Kirby's back, and she looks great, and she is now an FBI agent. You know, she's made her way from Scream 4. She survived that attack, even shows us her battle scars, and she is with the FBI, and she takes special interest in any Ghostface attack. I don't know where the hell she was last movie, but maybe it all unfolded too fast for her to get to where she needed to be. I have no idea, but it's nice to have her back here. So we learned that this Ghostface killer is leaving behind a Ghostface mask at every crime scene, and in that mask is DNA from a killer in the past. Now, I don't know how the hell they're pulling that off, but that's gotta be the original mask from the original murders of that film, of that era. We do get the return of Gail, even though she feels different here. I mean, with no Dewey, no Sydney, it almost seems pointless for Gail to show up, honestly. And I love Gail. I think she's a great character, but they don't give her a lot to do here. It doesn't feel like, and what they do give her to do was kind of eye-rolling to me. I don't hate it. but she's back to being like a bloodthirsty journalist. You know, she wrote a book about the last series of murders in Woodsboro that she told the Carpenter sisters she wasn't going to write. And she wasn't very flattering to either one of them, so they're naturally angry. And I believe it's Tara that winds up popping her in the mouth. So kind of a retread. It was a real meh, you know, moment. It could have been a lot better for me with Gail, but you know, she's back. You have to have a legacy character in there somewhere. Sam's beside herself because, again, like Sydney before her, she feels like she's brought this all on everybody around her. And the original survivors from Woodsboro that came back from Scream in 2022, they console her, and they even have a really great scene around the table where Chad coins them the core four. And everybody's resistant, hesitant to it, but they eventually get a team high five in there, and it just makes you smile because all four of these people are such good characters. They're good actors. They fit. You love them, you know, you just do. And you got to have that in a horror film. You got to have people you love because there's no risk if you don't care. And it's just much needed moment of joy amongst this new rash of death and chaos. And then we get an apartment attack because Sam has a boyfriend that she hasn't really told many people about. She eventually tells people about it, but she hasn't yet, and he's across the way. And he looks over into Sam's apartment, into Quinn's room, and Ghostface is standing over Quinn's bed. Now, the apartment attack scene is a really, really strong, really tense, very well done scene, and it's super bold because that Ghostface, after he kills Quinn, he bursts out there into that living room with 4 or 5 of the other people standing right there, you know, and you would think 5 people, Jesus Christ, just overpower this person, but it goes the way it goes. It's a really well done scene. It's very tense. They have a ladder that goes between the buildings that they have to crawl across, and you just know that's bad news. And that is just followed up by another great set piece where they all get onto a subway car. It's so busy though that the group's kind of splintered into two. So they get on this subway car and they must be going somewhere that involves costumes. And I don't know if this is set on Halloween or not. It's gotta be because everybody's dressed up as something. You know, you've got Michael Myers on there. Obviously you've got Pinhead, you've got It, you've even got a red balloon floating around on one of these cars, and you've got 4 or 5 different ghost faces in each car. Very cool, very neat. You just know something's going to happen though because the lights occasionally will flicker on and off, which gives you plenty of opportunity for somebody to sneak up on one of your main characters, and somebody does wind up getting gutted in the subway. All of that leads us to a museum that houses literally every piece of lore from every crime scene for each Ghostface killer from the past. I mean, you go from Woodsboro to Windsor College, all the way over to Hollywood, back to Woodsboro, right down to the killer's robes being encased in these glass cabinets on stage. I mean, that has to be where they got those goddamn masks. But everything looked really cool, and it's neat. But it's one of those things that you can't show people because you're either going to have to kill them shortly thereafter if that's your collection, or you're going to realize they're just as messed up and depraved as you are. So either you're going to make a new friend or you're going to add another body to the count. So Scream 6 is new enough that I don't want to get too in-depth with what happens in it, and on the off chance that somebody hasn't seen it. I know with 7 coming out, a lot of people are going to do a lot of rewatching, so I'll tell you now what this movie kills without spoiling anything. And off the top, I feel like New York seems like a natural fit for Ghostface, more so than Hollywood anyways. You know, they use the city well with the brownstones, the subway, the bodega. You know, they're in Central Park at one point. They made the best out of where they were and gave us some really memorable images of Ghostface stalking our victims. Great cast of victims. I mean, we bragged about the cold open, but being able to have Samara Weaving in this movie gives her a scream moment, and it's a fun way to start things. And the core 4, they're always great. And we get to see Chad and Tara sort of move closer towards one another. Getting Kirby back was a plus. Even though she was only kind of sprinkled in the movie here and there, she did have a very major role in the climax of the film. You know, if you'd have told me, though, that I would have been psyched about a Scream movie that didn't have Neve Campbell in it, where she was still technically a surviving character, I probably would have called you a liar. But this speaks to how good of a job they did in the last film building up all of these new characters. I thought they killed it with that one. Now, what killed Scream 6? Too many killers. I mean, we did not need 3. And I picked the main one almost immediately in the film, and I don't know that I've ever done that with any of the other 5 movies. You know, I had guesses, but I was certain of the main killer of this film. And the female of the group, the really good twist they gave us with that one, she was far more believable, and she just really committed to her role. I love the way that she sort of, it wasn't Amber from last time, you know, she didn't give us that Amber performance, but she really did put her all out there once we knew that she was a killer. Everything else though with the killers, just a little bit goofy to me. I wasn't feeling it. Last thing, and again, we talked about this before, but I don't understand how these folks keep surviving. I don't know what they're made out of. I don't know if they're metahumans. Chad had to have been stabbed 20 times by 2 different ghost faces at the exact same time, and this dude did not die. I mean, please don't interpret this as me wanting to lose these characters, because I do not want to lose these characters. I'm actually really excited. Chad and Mindy will be back in Scream 7. I wish Sam and Tara were in that film, but we'll talk about that in a second. But I just don't understand how they were just, you know, pin cushions for the climax of this movie, and we see them riding off into an ambulance giving everybody a thumbs up. You know, Gail is an afterthought in this film. We didn't lose her, but it felt weird to have her here, and if she was gonna go, this might have been the time to say goodbye to her. Didn't like the fact that she had some live-in boyfriend. I thought that was disrespectful to Dewey. I realize she's not an old woman by any stretch of the imagination, but if Dewey's not with her, nobody should be with her. So Ghostface's vacation to the Big Apple is going to net us a 7.5 out of 10. This movie ages gracefully. I thought Scream 6 was something very, very worth sitting down and rewatching. If they'd have done something different with the killers, or maybe gave us some stronger options, I think we could have easily been in the 8.5 out of 10 territory. I thought it's a great rewatch. It's all of 2 hours, but it doesn't feel like 2 hours. I mean, the pacing's good. Samantha as our lead again is tremendous. She does the Neve Campbell thing where, you know, she knows that this is happening to the people around her because of her, and she feels that weight, that guilt. You see it written on her face. She wants to trust people again. She's got a boyfriend that she likes, or at least, you know, she's got a friend with benefits, and she's immediately questioning him, but to his credit, he says, hey, don't trust me either. Just come find me when it's all over with. And I really dug that. I don't know the guy's name. I don't know much about him. I thought the snippets we had of him were pretty good throughout the course of the movie. Overall, Scream 6 is fantastic. I mean, if you look at this franchise 1 through 6, and we're a couple hours here from Scream 7, my son and I are going to go see it. They've really given us some solid horror films to sit down and enjoy, you know, and they're able to mix it up by Ghostface being a different person in each one of them. So it's not Michael Myers coming back for every single film. It's not Jason Voorhees resurrecting, climbing out of the dirt, getting struck by lightning and going on a tear. It's none of that stuff. It's a psychopath with a mask and a knife taking up somebody's mantle. So let me know what you thought of this movie. Let me know what you thought of this review. Like the video, comment on the video, tell me thumbs up, thumbs down, whatever you want to do. I appreciate you guys checking the video out. I am Matthew Essex. This is Aging Gracefully. Subscribe to the channel and hang out with us, and I will see you guys on the other side and in the movie theater in about 2 hours.